Good morning. This is Morning Coffee. Today I want to get right down to it. Actually, I'm going to be as transparent as I possibly can. And hopefully, some of you are listening today without judgment, but that you actually have your spiritual ear on, your listening ear. So, I'm at a crossroad. And if you've watched Morning Coffee from the beginning, remember I started off doing this morning coffee thing, and I was in a lot of pain. I mean, a lot of pain. And you would probably have to look past the mask that I was wearing as I was trying to describe the pain that I was in because I couldn't describe it. I would actually just get on morning coffee and, one day just started talking. And I found that talking and that some of you were responding, and it gave me some hope. So that's kind of what inspired this to keep going. But anyway, I'm at a crossroad. And it's funny because sometimes when you're at a crossroad, you may have been at the crossroad before. So when you arrive at the crossroad again, at that point of where you need to make a crucial decision or you need to have a crucial conversation with yourself, and practice principle of honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness within yourself. It's like, do you want to jump off the cliff? Do you want to take another risk? Do you want to give out ultimatums? What do you do? Now, the difference today is I'm not caught up. I'm not going to say I'm not fearful, but I'm not caught up in the grip of fear. I'm not going to be laying on the floor like I was, about 2 or 3 years ago in a fetus position, begging God to help me. At this juncture, I'm just simply reached a point within myself. And you ought to be glad that you're able to have a conversation with you about you, without exploiting, demonizing, or without blaming other people. This is what doing the work on you will benefit you. It won't cure or it won't take away the fact that there is a crossroad, because there's always going to be decisions to make. It will not, mean that you won't make any more mistakes. It just gives you an opportunity to be more aware, and to know that you do have a standard. You have standards. So anyway, here's the dilemma. I'm back in a relationship and, found out that, during the course of the relationship, Rodney was left. I was left. They chose the other person. Other person had the bigger butt. Other person had the bigger everything, I guess. Other person was really, really, really good, in bed. Now, some of you may be listening and say, this is a little too much information. Well, I'm not going to get smart and say pause or cut me off. But just listen. That's all I'm going to ask you to do. Just listen without judgment. So anyway, it's been difficult. And so in my mind, I'm thinking I have gotten over it, And then you must remember that when somebody leaves you for somebody else, there is a process that goes on inside of you that it may never stop. That kind of pain may never leave you. Some of us do get over it and go on. Some of us even become friends with that person. I'm not that person. But I do become easily triggered, and I get especially concerned when you still have contact with the individual that you left me for. And have absolutely nothing wrong with it. See nothing wrong with it. Whereas, part of me is wondering, and this is the interesting thing. So I'm really going to continue to, consult my spiritual guide. I'm really going to consult. See the difference? See the difference in today? The difference today is I am overwhelmed by the information, and perhaps I understand that I have the kind of personality that if I sit and think about that too long and let that rent enough space in my head, it will enrage me and I will go back down Primrose Path and remember the devastation, the degradation, and all those things that these individuals brought on me, without my permission, all because they wanted to be together. And then I have to look at the fact that I took the person back and they took me back, you know. And I was listening to Dr. Laura and she said something deep. If you ever listen to Dr. Laura, she's really good. And she said, sometimes when we get involved in relationships where people cheat on us and they come back, all we can focus on sometimes is that they cheated on us. And we're focusing on the wrong thing. And if you think about it, it's true, because if you focus on that, it will keep you locked and loaded in self-inflicted pain and nonsense. And you'll be trying to get revenge. You'll be regretting that you got back with the person. You won't be able to sleep and eat because it'll be, why me, poor me, oh, why did they do this to me? When you really can focus on the fact that they came back. They left all that good stuff, that good sex, that good whatever they were getting, or thought they were getting from the other person and still may be getting. They left it to come back for you because it was something about you, you know. And I get it. I get it. Here's the dilemma, though. Sometimes you have to sit down and have a conversation about these things. You know, you can't, and I've risen to the point and grown to the point where I believe that instead of me doing investigative work, you know, going on the cell phone, putting spy stuff on the computer, that I have now grown to a point where I could just simply ask you a question without an agenda or without having an answer or knowing the outcome. I could just ask a question. Now, I'm involved with someone that it's very difficult to ask questions to because there's still the assumption of guilt or the assumption of I'm poking and prodding, and I get that. What I don't get is why you are still in contact with the individual that you left me for. I don't get it. I don't. I'm not so overwhelmed about it to where I'm going to jump off a cliff. But I am concerned because it requires me to have a crucial conversation with myself about my own standards and what I will and what I won't compromise this time around. Love and loving and being free and freedom requires that you do the work. And sometimes doing the work means that you have to ask yourself the real serious questions, like, why am I even having a conversation with myself about this? This is like a no-brainer. Do I give an ultimatum? Look, you gotta disconnect all communication if you want to be with me. And I thought about doing that, but my spirit ain't even flowing like that. Like, why do I have to give another grown person an ultimatum? There ought to be something in you that respects me, and there ought to be something in me that respects you that says this. But that's not how we all think. And being a principled person, I have to realize and be empathetic and sympathetic. Otherwise, I'd be apathetic. And I got to understand that we don't all think alike. So we don't all come, you know, to that conclusion as easily. So sometimes I have to stop my brain and say, what would God do that I would not do? Or what would God think that I would not think? That gets me settled for a little bit. But this is where I'm at today. On morning coffee. This is where a brother really is right now. Like, what am I going to do now? I've decided that I am going to have the conversation, and that I am going to say that I need to disconnect from that person entirely, and that could very well be for their good, because I'm allowing that thing to rob me. And I know that some other people out there are experiencing something. It may not be in a relationship. It may be with something else. But whatever it is, it is. And it's robbing you from the freedom that you could experience within yourself and with that individual. And love requires work. This is Morning Coffee. Have a very blessed day, and thanks for listening.